Hello! Today we're going to paint this happy coastal watercolor scene. We're going to use some oil pastels and some masking fluid, do a little mark making with our ink pen. I hope you enjoy, and maybe it inspires you to create something like this too. So I like to search on Google Maps of a place that I either want to visit, been to already, something that I want to capture in watercolor. And I look around, I use the little dude, and I find a spot that I like, and that's often how I grab some of my beach or coastal scenes to paint and draw, because I currently am in the desert. And while I love living on the coast, it just didn't work for right now. We're somewhere else for work. So understand that you could do that. You could go and look at Paris and take a picture there. Take a look over there and see what you want to paint without having, to be there, or without having to use somebody else's photos, really. It's from the Google guy that drove around with the car. So it's fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a light sketch, but I also like to sketch out just the border. I also like that it's not, real tight. I like kind of the loose areas. All right, so like I said, I'm just gonna do a light sketch. It's not going to be very intricate. I'm just kind of feeling out where things are located, where I'm going to place them. And I'm actually taking a little bit of artistic license and adding in a few things, changing kind of the size of things, the direction of things. Again, the photo is really just about a sampling or a suggestion of what is here. And I use a darker pencil when so this is where the palm trees are going to be, but I'm not going to really put that in too much now so that I don't have to erase it. When I draw for watercolor, I tend to use a darker pencil when I draw for you, so that you can see everything. This is a 2B. I tend to use, like, this is a 3H, so it's much lighter. I call it a 3 hardness. And this is 2B, which is blackness. I wish I would have used S for soft. It's kind of, the opposite. But they didn't. So that's what those are. And I will do a sketch, and then I will go back and I will use an eraser and lightly go over everything so it's not too dark, so it doesn't show through the watercolor, which once you paint over the pencil, you really can't erase it for some reason. If anybody knows why that is, I find that interesting. And it's a look too. If you want to keep it that way, that's absolutely fine. I think we might do that today and see how it looks. But the lighter pencil will obviously erase easier, because it's already lighter and you're just making it even lighter. This will leave an impression. And you don't have to erase it at all anyway. See, I'm just gonna do a light area of where like these cumulus clouds are, and then stratus clouds maybe. These are up here. That's really all I need. I need some, I'm gonna make some different marks in the water, but they don't have to be specifically right where they are in the water. Now there is also a pelican on a stick out here in the photo. Maybe you don't want to include that, maybe you do want to include that. I'm deciding, do I want to? I think I might. So it goes kind of like this. He's kind of standing on this thing. He's really tiny in the image. So you could, you know, make him a lot bigger. So he kind of shows up. And then I might add a little detail as we go forward, just so you know it's a bird and not a blob. Okay, let's get started painting. So I actually went ahead and erased it a little bit, but you can still see it well because I used that darker pencil. And I do like the darker pencil around the edge, even though I'm going to ink it after that. But no big deal. You can either erase yours or not. So now I actually want to use something to resist the watercolor. I like to have something, you know, in place like that. You can either use the masking fluid, or I'm going to also, today I'm going to incorporate some of my favorite, the oil pastel. And you know, you can do this loosely, however you want to. It doesn't have to be anything real tight. I'm excited to see how this looks. I'll be honest, I haven't used this in water representation before, but I think it's going to be cool. And then I'm going to use this as well in the sky for some of the cloud look. I'm not going to fill in the whole area. I want to, you know, make it so that it is just sort of spaced out. And I'm just going to do it in these lower areas here. I'm going to treat the other parts a little bit differently. And I'm actually going to bring it down a little more than I had drawn it. And this, I like using a Q-tip a little better than a brush. It gives a different look, but it also isn't ruining my brush. And you can keep using this again and again if you'd like. You know, if you're doing something really tight and realistic, this might not be the way for you, but that's probably not why you're here today. I'm just going to set that aside. I actually have a little pile of things started there. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and I'm going to actually start in the other areas while that happens. I don't need to wait and come back or anything. I'm really going to dive right into the sea. Now the sea on the ocean water on the photo is actually not that exciting. It's kind of a brownish, nothing interesting. So I'm just gonna choose, you know, I have some of my blues here set up. I'm gonna choose my favorite blues and incorporate those. I'm not gonna really worry about what the real colors appear as. So, and you could use a couple of different blues. I know you could use darker and lighter. I just got these couple, and this one is a cobalt deep hue. I think it's just spot on for the kind of blue-green that I like. And I'm going to water it down in areas and let that kind of flow. You could also, you know, cover this all with water, you know, real water, and then kind of drag your watercolor over that and see how that kind of spreads, you know, the wet and wet look. outside the line there. You could extend that even a little bit more. I am gonna go around that stick a little. And we'll come back after this dries and go at it again with some other color and things like that. And you can also go in with a rag and kind of blot out some areas. That can give it more, you know, not one solid color, give it more depth. God, this color is great. I'm really glad I got it. Yeah, cool. Super. So now you could even go in and grab some darker blues. Kind of incorporate that a little bit. Kind of a similar color but darker. You could take different colors, different blues. You know, I think I'm actually going to get rid of this a little. So now actually I am going to let this dry. And I'm sorry about this light. I've been adjusting my lights to try to get it a little bit better, and I'll do that again before we come back. And then I'm going to work on, you know, the rest of this area, and then this should dry a little bit more as well. So we'll be back. So it dried real nicely, and I love the looks. Let's see if we can get it a little tighter there for you. I could even bring that in a little, that there. It's got some real cool textures going on. And remember, I used the oil pastel there. Super. Now I want to go a little in, and I'm gonna start with this area, and then we'll move into the sky. I'll probably do this area and I'll let things kind of dry again before I do the sky. So this time I want to use some greens and I'm going to actually do a red. Yeah, that yellow blends in with the greens, real nice. Now, if this really bothers you, you can use your finger to get it off of the edge there. And you can come back later and add some darker colors to that. I like the darker green in the background. That makes it recede a little bit more. I'm going to start with the lighter green and work on the palm fronds. And we'll come back and do some darker ones of that as well. Great, and I'm going to let that dry as well. Now you could also use a hair dryer or a fan. I prefer to just let it dry. Okay, so that dried nicely. Now I'm going to take care of this area. And I'd like to make the house kind of a pinky light red color. Make it kind of coastal. It doesn't have to be so intricately painted. Okay, while that dries a little bit more, I'm going to, I'd like to actually get rid of some of this. Give it like a light color there. We'll let that dry, it'll dry pretty quick. I'm gonna do some of the Actually, I do want to do this too here. And I'm going to wait for those things to dry like I did earlier. That shouldn't take too long. Might even be pretty close to dry already. And I accidentally have one too many in here, so we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to add a little darker in here and some lighter. Okay, that's pretty close to dry, so we're going to do the sky. Now remember, I have the whatchamacallit? I have the masking fluid here. I apologize, I had my fan running. So we're doing the sky, in case I had to trim that out. It's a little darker. And we are going over that masking fluid that has dried nicely. You know, you could, maybe there's a little bit of a storm coming in. It is a tropical area. Another really beautiful blue color. This one is Mayan blue, genuine. It's a Daniel Smith color. Yeah. So I really like how this looks, but I am going to suck it up so I can get it off of the edge there. And maybe I should have taped it all up a little bit more. This is all right though. Get that off of there. Not a big deal. And I want to go back and remove some in other areas. Give some cloud and impressions here. It's nice, except here's a nice little dog hair. I might have to wait until it dries to get that off. Sometimes they get a little stubborn. If you have dogs or cats, you might be familiar. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm gonna take in a little different brush here and get around some of these edges of things. Work with a totally different brush from the beginning if you wanted. You could just leave this. It's in any way you want to work. Now, while this is still drying, I wanted to add some bits of area that are darker. And I just grab some of the dry paint and then work it in there. Oop. we might do a little more of that kind of thing after it's dried and I've removed the masking fluid. I think I'm gonna need a big sign that says that word. Okay, so I'm real happy with how that's turning out. I think I'm gonna add a little more shadow to the house as we wait for that sky to dry, and this looks like it bled over a little, which is fine. Grab some red here. A little too much. Great. Now you could even like add some red berries or some flowers, I mean, to, you know, the plants or something. But for now, this is how we're gonna do that. And after, we're gonna come in with a little bit of ink. I really enjoy adding that to these types of paintings. And I'm gonna add a little more here so it looks like it's, you know, in the water instead of just some stick. Maybe it creates some of the wake, right? Once again, we'll let the sky dry and we'll be back. Okay, so it took a little bit to dry, but you know, I actually cleaned this up a little bit too and made a little bit more of a bird shape. And now we're getting ready to, I did a little bit like of a shadow here, so this looks a little better. Now I'm getting ready to remove the masking fluid. You can use like a rubber eraser. They make these, it looks kind of like it's dried masking fluid, or you can just use your hand, which is what we're going to do today. All right, great. So now I want to add a little bit more of the blue in here. Gives a nice look, but makes it, you know, a little brighter white cloud, which in my picture was errant. You can interpret your clouds in any way you see that you would like. You can do these, you can dry a little more and make it darker as well. You could you know, add it now. Bring some underneath so it looks, it pops kind of off the. Okay, and once again, we're gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna come back with some ink. And you know, my favorite ink pen is this Pilot Precise Rollerball pen. This is the fine version, but there's lots of other pens you could use, obviously. This is just like a fine line. It's kind of why I like it. I like the way it rolls, the way it draws on there. And a felt tip can get kind of thick, which obviously you use what you like, but I like it like this better. We'll see you soon. So I'm pretty happy the way it turned out. I just love the different white areas. You know, it's got a lot of variety going on, tried a lot of different textures. Oops, excuse me. I'm not sure how I feel about the oil pastel. It's okay. Maybe if I had grouped it together a little bit more. I don't know, what do you guys think? Yeah, let me know. Have you tried it before like this? Now I'm going to use a little ink. I like doing a faster swoop with things. As I work, you'll see that. If you do it too smooth, it doesn't really give you a sketching feel. It's more, you know, an outline. And that's not really the look I'm going for. You can do it either way you like. Could even add in some shading if you thought. And we can add a little into the water as well. I'm probably not going to add anything into the sky and just leave it like this. Sometimes I use these little like free circles or whatever to kind of mimic the bubbles and the foamy, you know, the texture that you see in water. I think that's kind of all I'm gonna do. Maybe a little on the windows here, the door. Yeah, fun. You can add more if you'd like, you know, a little more in here if you wanted. But I think I'm good with that. All right, now I also think I'm gonna, like, you could outline the entire thing. So this would be less, you know, completely sketchery, but more of an outline of something you've already gotten laid down with the pencil. I think there's a little wax pen down here. Okay, and then sign it. I like to do it on the side. And I'm going to take the paper off. You don't really need to. I just taped it down to keep it flat and from moving around while I did it, but it certainly looks better without the green distraction. Oop, a little bit of a tear. That's fine. You really can't see it that well. Okay, tape is catching on everything here. I do have a little bit, maybe you can see that. I'm sure there's a little bit of, you know, caught from the tape or something like that. You can either use a brush, try to get rid of it, or you can tape over it with, paint over it with some white acrylic, you know, gently. This doesn't bother me, but this one's kind of, I don't know actually where that came from, but I think I'll probably paint white over that and then it'll be done. Fun. I hope you like that. I hope you give it a try for yourself. If I hope you just enjoyed watching me create this lovely coastal painting with the masking fluid. We use the oil pastel, some pen and ink, and as well as the usual watercolors. Oh, and I did want to tell you that this was a nice thick piece of watercolor paper, and it's not technically, it's a hotter press, but it had a little bit of a tooth in it, and I was pretty pleased with it. It came from a sketchbook and I took it out. I prefer to work this way if it's not ring bound. So thanks for joining me. Happy painting.